with the initial change, it's just been, I mean, a frustrating year with injuries, not just to Caitlin, but obviously to Caitlin. DB ultimately ends up leaving. And so that, you know, we already talked about how you need time to gel, you need time to build chemistry. So how frustrating has it been that the chemistry has just, it's like start, stop, start, stop.
It's definitely been a struggle. But I think just at the start of the season too, like, you know, you have your start of the season meetings and you're talking. And for us, it was about, listen, like, no matter what happens in the season, it's next woman up and you have to be ready. And I feel like obviously struggling with injuries, and then, you know, you sign people and then they leave, and it's like, listen, like, whoever is next, be ready to play, because it doesn't matter. Like, the games still keep coming. Like, you still have to be ready to compete. And that's why I was so happy, like, when we signed Ari.
Aaliyah Boston just released an interview with Sue Bird. And yes, she had some things to say about Caitlin Clark that definitely caught attention. We're going to break down every pointed comment, every compliment, and every keep your expectations realistic reminder. What was your first reaction when Aaliyah spoke about the pressure of sharing a team with Caitlin?
And it is. Obviously, you never want people to get injured, but the reality is you have to have that mindset, and it gives other people opportunity. And then you hope ultimately you're all better for it when the injured players come back. But I'm curious, specific to Caitlin being on the floor, off the floor, and I saw you talk on your own podcast about like the spacing and how different it is. But when you're entering a game, like your mental prep, how does it change? Because it's two different systems essentially.
It is. Honestly, like, when C is on the floor, I'm like, listen, be ready to run. Be ready to get out. Be ready because she's looking. She's looking. Going. She wants to play fast. Super early in the offense. And like, we do that too as well here, but I think sometimes too now without her, like, we can get into like a little more half court execution, make the defenses work a little bit harder, first side, second side, third side. And then I think when you have like Kelsey, when Kelsey's playing in transition, get that ball up to her and make her
I've never seen anybody so bouncy.
Like, Boston's words didn't sound scripted. They didn't come across like some polished PR-approved answer from a media rep. She went on Sue Bird's podcast and simply told the truth about what it's really been like playing with Caitlin Clark. And let's be honest, the truth matters far more than another generic headline pretending everyone's best friends.
So entering year 3 for you, which is this year, as you said, it's a lot of change.
Yes.
You have a coaching change. You have a ton of, it's a big free agency year for you guys. And really overnight, what that big free agency year was, or big change was expectations change. So you guys went from like this up and coming, where it's like you're getting to know each other, to now it's like, oh, they could win the whole thing. So what was the experience of essentially becoming like, instead of being the hunter, you're now the hunted?
It's crazy, but I feel like it was definitely expected. Like, I think number one, like, just last year, everyone, like, when they see our name on the schedule, even though the year before we didn't win, like, we won 13 games or whatever it was, and it was like, okay, well, but then you added in Caitlin, right? And everybody's like, oh, like, they're gonna be this, this, and this, and now everybody's like, oh, you know what? We're gonna prove you wrong. Like, hell no, like, that's how it is.
Boston's perspective stands out because she's living it day to day. Clark has been labeled the future of women's basketball, ESPN's new highlight darling, and a ratings juggernaut. That kind of buzz is impossible to avoid, whether you're scrolling through social media or stepping into a jam-packed arena. And Boston sees it clearly. She openly said that Caitlin Clark brings eyes, attention, and enormous expectations to every Fever game. Now pause for a second. Aaliyah Boston isn't some bitter teammate fishing for sympathy. She's already an all-star, the 2023 Rookie of the Year, and the face of Indiana before Clark even showed up. But the moment Caitlin arrived in Indianapolis, everything changed. Every missed shot was clipped and replayed online. Every awkward play turned into a debate. Every win or loss was broken down like it was the finals.
And everybody's like, yeah, like, they got, for us, we always think like you have to approach every season with like, we're winning this whole season. So that was our mindset. And I think when you look at expectations, once again, expectations come from everyone outside. Cause like in our circle, we know exactly what we want to do. We also understand that it's a process. We understand that new faces, new coaches, like different style of play for people joining us. It's like people need time to figure it out once again. But when you do figure it out, it's going to be scary. And I feel like that's what it was for us. And that was our approach. And we're still like, listen, we are coming here to win this thing. Like, that's what it is. And that's not going to change no matter what, because
that's where Boston's honesty cuts through. On Sue Bird's show, she explained that the pressure didn't just land on Clark. It hit the whole team. Because if Caitlin is being cast as the savior, What happens when the team stumbles? Fingers get pointed, and players like Boston end up carrying that weight too.
When we signed Ari, I felt like that was like amazing for us because obviously we couldn't predict C being out for this long at least. And so it's like having someone in that runs the point well, can call her own number, I think honestly has been like our biggest blessing. Obviously now with Bibbs, like she's coming in, she's able to stretch the floor. It's like, I think no matter what, everything is for a reason, right? And that's kind of our focus is, listen, like whatever happens, but whoever is here in our circle, listen, like we're here to hoop.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to play. And so I feel like that's just been our approach. Like it hasn't been perfect. There's definitely been injuries here and there, but
Boston reminded everyone that she and Clark had never played together before this year. Still, the outside world demanded instant perfection. It's as if critics expected Boston to already know Caitlin's instincts, timing, and vision, without logging months of game time alongside her. Boston said, and I quote, "We weren't given that grace period of like getting to play with someone you've never played with." That line sums it all up. Think about it. In the NBA, we always hear coaches, analysts, and even players repeat that chemistry takes time. When LeBron James teamed up with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh to form Miami's Big Three, it took nearly an entire season before everything clicked. Yet in the WNBA, with Caitlin Clark, expectations were flipped upside down. Fans acted as if the Fever weren't playoff ready on day one. Then Boston and the rest must have been underachieving. Boston was clearly annoyed by that storyline, but she delivered her thoughts with composure. She didn't rant. She didn't blame anyone. She simply pointed out that the team was still learning and that outsiders weren't giving them space to actually grow. That kind of maturity speaks volumes, especially considering she's only 23 points.
She is moving, she's making the right read, and it's like, listen, and she's scoring the ball at a very high level. And so I think, it's a little bit both, like once again, like when C's on the floor, like she's looking to get up, people can be like, listen, I don't need to outlet because I know once we rebound, we're getting it up. But I also think it, once again, it's like puts people on their toes because they're like, whoa, I need to find Kelsey in transition. I need to find Ari now. Like we got to find Sophie and Lexi knocking down threes. Like it's different, but I think everyone is once again finding their own rhythm, and that we just did a great job of like.
The discussion then shifted to how her connection with Clark has improved. Boston admitted the early stretch was more difficult than she expected. Some passes caught her off guard. There were plays where she didn't pick up on Clark's intention quickly enough. And of course, social media did what it always does. Grab a bad clip, slap a mocking caption on it, and suddenly it's proof the Fever can't mesh. But here's the key. Boston didn't deny any of it. Instead, she explained why it happened. She said that as the season went on, she began to understand Clark's rhythm. She noticed where Caitlin's eyes went. She recognized when a pass was coming without Caitlin even speaking. That's how real basketball chemistry develops. Not through instant magic, but through repetition. Boston even shared a vivid example. She said that after enough games, you don't need Caitlin to yell, cut, screen, or look for the ball. You just read her body cues, the tilt of her head, the way she sets her feet. Suddenly, Boston knows the ball is about to be fired in her direction. That's when the Fever started to look more fluid on the court. And honestly, the sarcasm is justified here, because it's funny people thought this would happen overnight. Did fans expect Boston to instantly be Clark's perfect pick-and-roll partner after a single practice? Did they think every lob would land like a SportsCenter highlight? That's not how sports work. Chemistry is messy, trial and error, and Boston's breakdown on Sue Bird's podcast shows she gets it. Still, let's be real. Boston has also faced hate. On that same show, she revealed that strangers have tweeted things like, "You're the worst big I've ever seen." Think about how ridiculous that is. She's a #1 overall pick, Rookie of the Year, an all-star, and yet some random couch critic feels entitled to call her trash. What Boston shared in this interview goes way beyond basketball. She peeled back the curtain on what it feels like to balance her own development while carrying the weight of public expectations, and to do it while playing alongside one of the most hyped rookies the game has ever seen. Her openness, patience, and maturity prove she's not just a star player, but also a leader unafraid to tell the truth where others might settle for cliches. If there's one big takeaway, it's this. Building chemistry takes time. Critics are easy to find. And often the smartest move is ignoring the noise. Boston's reflections remind us that greatness doesn't appear overnight. It's built gradually, with mistakes, adjustments, and persistence. As the Fever grow together, one thing is obvious. Both Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark are anchoring something far more important than highlight clips. They're laying the groundwork for the next era of women's basketball.